Hi, welcome back to Channel 6 TV, Community Focus here in Nelson County. I'm Kenny Fogle, your host. Glad you could be with us again tonight. We're going to talk about hunger. We're going to talk about food, and that's something I think everybody knows about. We all get hungry every now and then, and we all have to. Food's a very important issue with us. So we got with us today the manager of the pantry here at the Bread of Life Community Pantry here in Bardstown, Matt Bowman. Matt, first of all, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you, Kenny. Glad to be here.
Well, I know this is before we get into it, tell us a bit about Matt Bowman. This is sort of a second career for you now, isn't
it? It is. I am an attorney, and I practiced law for a number of years, and had an opportunity a couple years ago to put that aside, and then found myself in this second calling.
So a lot of time when you get that second calling, it's sort of one from the heart more than it is from I'm not going to say from the head, but it's something. It's a passion burning in you or something.
Well, that's true. I certainly did not expect to find myself managing a food pantry a couple years ago, and so. But it's been a great opportunity, and I felt called to it, and I've really enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, the Bread of Life Food Pantry, I know it's part of the St. Vincent de Paul, and if anybody hadn't been there lately, you've opened a new pantry. Now, tell us a little bit about what somebody would see if we were there right now.
Well, if you were to come to the Bread for Life Food Pantry, it's a Bread for Life Community Food Pantry.
I'll make sure I get the name right.
Yeah. What you would see is you would walk in and you would see pretty much a small grocery store, something that is quite unusual for most food pantries. Our clients go through, and we call the individuals the households and families that come to the food pantry clients, and our clients come in there and go around with a volunteer and shop for the food that they'd like to take home with them.
Now, I know I met with you about a week or two ago, and we were talking about the hunger issue in Nelson County, right, in the area, and you had some pretty alarming statistics. I mean, I'll let you tell us a little bit about people think there's nobody going hungry in this area, and that's not necessarily true.
Well, that is not the case. 2 years ago, I was like most other people here in Nelson County. You kind of thought maybe there was people who were, really struggling. And then since I've been the manager of the Bread for Life Food Pantry, I interact with those individuals on a daily basis. So I know what's out there. And it got me scratching my head and thinking, well, I need to find out who our client population actually is. And so I did some research, and the numbers are there. It's just that most people don't really go out and look for those numbers. They're busy living their own lives, and so, but they're there. 19%, according to the 2010 United States Census, 19% of Nelson County lives below the federal poverty guidelines. That's over 8,500 individuals. Yeah. That's a lot of people.
It is.
And one of the first things that I did when I took over at the food pantry is I started gathering demographic information. Who actually is coming to the food pantry? How much money do they make? How much food stamps do they get? And I was surprised, and most people are surprised. The average household, not individual, but household income for someone who comes to the Bread for Life Food Pantry is $900 a month. That's well below the federal poverty guidelines.
Right.
The other thing that I discovered is that there's a large percentage of the households who come to our food pantry who are either elderly or permanently disabled. In fact, 76% of the households who come to Bread for Life are permanently disabled or elderly. Those are individuals that, even though the economy, we've got a low unemployment rate, and it certainly is much better than it was in 2008, those individuals aren't going to be affected by the economy.
Yeah. Some people got left behind a little bit.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
and then there's always individuals who, for whatever reason, any number of reasons, are experiencing a hard time. Yeah. Our income that you and I have might be significantly more than the person who's flipping burgers.
Well, yeah, if you're trying to pay bills, utility bills, you're trying to and things of that nature, housing, gas to and from. I mean,
sure.
$900 doesn't go too far.
Right. I had someone in the pantry Monday who was there, and they had their because one of the things that the first time you come to the pantry, we do ask that you bring in proof of your income. And so this lady who was a widow brought in her proof of income, and there it was. How much money she gets from Social Security? $854 a month. Also on her bank statement was the bills that she has taken out automatically, $832 a month. So, you know, this lady who did not get food stamps had basically $20 a month to live off of. Yeah, how do you do that?
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
No, it
You know,
can't fathom that. But the fact is, she doesn't go hungry because you're there.
Well, certainly, that's the primary reason why we're there,
Yeah.
is to help individuals who are really struggling. You know, we're a part of St. Vincent de Paul, and St. Vincent de Paul does wonderful things, and we're just one of those things that we try to help out the community with.
Well, I know people are going to ask, you know, where the money comes from. I mean, obviously it comes from different sources, and you raise money, but you've got to pay for this food. You know, nobody gives you the food, do they?
Well, some people do give us
Okay.
the food, but you know, a lot of people think, well, it's a food pantry, and what the food that we give out is food that's been donated through food drives.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, but we give out between 25 and 35,000 pounds of food every month. That's a lot of food.
Okay. That's a lot of food.
There's no way that we would be able to gather that
Yeah.
much food through food drives. In fact, only about 30% of the food that we give out is donated to us.
And this is quality food. This isn't the food is expiration dates expired and things like that. This is food that you can find at a grocery store.
It certainly is food that you could find at the grocery store. Now, some of it is food that, for whatever reasons, the grocery stores have determined that they couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
You know, it might be seasonal food. You know, the 4th of July, and you know they had things out for the 4th of July, and 4th of July is over, and they're not going to be able to sell it. So, you know, they put that into the what I call the food pipeline. And so, but to go back to what we were talking about, as far as the food that we get, 70% of the food that we get, we purchase.
Yeah.
And that money comes from a variety of sources. One source we're very thankful for is the United Way. It's very helpful for us. We get about $1,000 a month on average from the grant that we get from United Way. Salvation Army here in Nelson County, all those bell ringers at Christmas time, all that money stays here in Nelson County, and Salvation Army provides us with a nice stipend every month in order to pay for food. We also get money from the proceeds from the mission store. Again, people who go to the mission store at St. Vincent de Paul, all that money stays right here in Nelson County. And then finally, we also benefit from a fundraiser that the St. Joe Youth Group does every year. It's called Super Bowl for Caring, done in January. Usually, this past year, it raised about $6,000.
Yeah, I think the post office, they do a little bit as far as can drive.
Right. The post office is our largest food drive, but to give you some idea, this year is about 5,000 pounds.
Yeah.
But 5,000 pounds is about 1 week's worth of
Yeah.
food that goes out of the Bread for Life food pantry.
Now, when you say when they come to the food pantry, they have somebody with them that goes around to help them shop, I guess you would say. It's not just like you just pick out anything. There's got to be some smart shopping involved. I think that's what we talked about this before. It's what they need more so than just junk food and things of that nature.
Well, we tried to provide an atmosphere that treats our clients with compassion and dignity. No one wants to come to a food pantry. What that individual is saying is, I'm not able to, for whatever of life's circumstances, either feed myself or feed my family. So how do you make a situation that by itself takes away someone's dignity? How do you give them dignity and compassion? Well, one of the things that we've done is, we've designed the facility, which is one that we leased from the city, and the city's been wonderful. They've a great landlord, and they've given us really good terms for our lease. But when you go in there, the colors have been chosen to be comforting and joyful, and you'll see pictures on the wall, and every person there, of those pictures, someone is smiling. And we train our volunteers to recognize that the situation that somebody's coming there, and to try not to judge individuals who come there. But when they do come, we ask them to bring proof of income and proof that they live in Nelson County. We're a designated agency of Feeding America, and that's one of the things we have to stay within our our district, and our district is,
And there are
is
guidelines,
Nelson
obviously,
County.
financial guidelines.
Right, there are
things like-
financial guidelines that we follow. There's the ones that are suggested by Feeding America. And so someone who comes in there would bring that. And then what happens is we assign a color code to that household. And that color code, green, blue, purple, and orange. Those are the 4 color codes that we use. And it's based upon the number of people in someone's household, the ages of their children, recognizing that a 2-year-old certainly doesn't need as much as a 14-year-old boy, as well as how much food stamps that they get. And that tells them how much food that they get. And then they can go, we have a number of volunteers. We have between 40 and 50 volunteers from any number of different organizations and churches, both Catholic and Protestant. And they accompany the client through the grocery store, so to speak. And the client is the one who chooses the food, whatever is out there. But we've got the grocery store set up in such a way that the first things you go through is fresh produce and fruit, and then you go into meat and into canned vegetables and more. And the way that it is all set up is that the healthiest choices are at the beginning. And so what we find is that our clients tend to choose those healthier choices. Now, the other thing that we do is we have an education kitchen that we're excited about. We're going to start giving classes there beginning July 26th. It's a Tuesday. Abby Van Meter, who's with the County Extension Service, she's the nutritionist there, is going to be giving classes on healthy eating as well as menus on a budget. And so every Tuesday at 3:30, our clients will have an opportunity to go and take some cooking classes.
Well, it sounds like it's very organized as far as determining, the size of the family and what a family would need instead of just haphazardly just guessing at it. And on top of that, providing some education to how to stretch a dollar, how to stretch a meal.
Right. Those are things that a lot of our clients that we see have been have lived all their lives in poverty. And when you and I go into the grocery store, we're blessed. We're lucky. We can typically buy whatever it is that we want. However, many individuals who come to the Bread for Life Food Pantry, they don't have that option. When they go in, produce is expensive, and it doesn't last long. And so those are things that typically our clients aren't going to be purchasing at the grocery store. So they don't know how to cook with it. And it's not something that is normally in their diet. So part of what we're trying to do is to educate our clients so that those healthy choices that are available to you and I can also be available to them.
Do you get to know your clients pretty well after you've been there a while? Some of them become more...
Certainly we have some clients who come every month, and we're glad that they come every month, and they really need to be there every month. Then we have some clients that, because of their circumstances, they're only there once or twice. And then, things improve in their life and they're able to move on.
Well, you had a career as an attorney and had a career doing this. Where do you feel more fulfilled?
Well, they both have their fulfilling moments. I can tell you that being an attorney is a lot more stressful. And this really does touch my heart. It is an opportunity to really connect one-on-one with individuals. I cannot fix all the problems that have, in fact, there's very few problems that I can fix for them other than to give them provide food for them and to listen to them and to listen to their stories and to connect with them as an individual.
Well, somebody out there right now maybe that's not real aware of what's available, maybe needs some help, needs to find a place to provide food. And what do they need to know? Is that open to anybody in Nelson County to come to do this? It's a community, as you say, it's a community food pantry.
It is a community food pantry. We have a number of organizations that support us, either through providing volunteers, through doing food drives, and those include companies, it includes civic organizations, any number of churches here in Nelson County that support us, as well as a whole group of individuals who are volunteers. We're open now 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 9 to 3, and then Saturday mornings from 9 to 12.
Okay.
And again, anyone who comes within those income guidelines are welcome to come there.
Well, you stop in and see them. You're at the, like I said, the Kobeck building they call it. For a lot of people may not know what that is. If you went to Old Kentucky Home, used to be Old Kentucky Home Junior High School when I was going there years ago, right beside Foster Heights on Muir Avenue. So it's I think it's Muir, isn't it? Or,
it is Muir.
Okay, I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's go around the back of the building and go in the door, and there you are.
Exactly.
So, and you're there most every day. I know I've been
I'm there
down
most every
times,
day.
and most time I'm there, I see you there. And you got a lot of volunteers that are going. I know my dad volunteered for years. He'd drive to E-Town every once in a week and pick up food and bring it back. So a lot of people are always looking for volunteers and always looking for donations.
Right.
I mean, any help you can give is always well appreciated and well used. But
Right.
like I said, it sounds like you got things under control and organized rather than
Well,
just haphazard.
yeah, it is. There is an art and a science to it, and part of it is, I've gone out and visited any number of other food pantries to determine how they run. And nowadays with the internet, you can learn just about anything, including how to run a food pantry through the internet.
And we're going to solve the hunger problem here in Nelson County, or do our best anyway. And I appreciate everything you're doing. I know people out there do too, because this is a mission of God. So obviously we appreciate you doing that.
Well, it's a lot of fun, and it's very rewarding for myself.
All right, well, Matt Bowman here for the Bread for
For
Life.
Life.
I want to get that right. Bread for Life Community Food Pantry.
That's right.
Okay, I want to make sure I know there's a difference between there's different wording, but again, it's down on Muir Avenue, the old Kentucky Home building now called the Kobeck building. I used to know what that stood for, but I know City of Bardstown
Educational Complex.
Educational Complex. So stop in and check them out. And like I said, it is a beautiful place. Went down for a couple times to look at it, and well kept, well clean, and it looks as good as any grocery store I've ever been in. So congratulations on that. All right, well, Matt, thank you for showing up here today. Appreciate it, and hopefully we can let people know what's going on.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks a lot. Stick around, a lot more to come here on Community Focus right here on Channel 6 TV. We'll be right back.